Welcome to Monday night, and our continued look at what's making news tonight here on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. In focus tonight, former president of the ANC and former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, has made incredible statements on his unity and renewal mission in the Free State. According to President Thabo Mbeki, former President Thabo Mbeki, the ANC is the pillar of South Africa and is too big to fail because it is, of course, a part of governance in the country. And if it fails, the country will collapse. Following those remarks, of course, the debate has ensued, and we're taking lots of thoughts on that tonight as well at 072-110-5584. Otherwise, you can tweet us tonight at Newzroom 405. We are in conversation with Professor Tefo as well as Sandile Swana with us tonight. First, though, let me take you back to that renewal and unity mission that took place this past weekend on one of the events. Here's what the former president said.
I can say here that the ANC is too big to fail. Meaning the same thing. If the ANC collapsed today, ceased to exist, this country will become ungovernable. Simply because of the influence of the ANC. 3 provincial governments are ANC, national government is ANC. Even if you forget about municipalities. If the ANC collapsed and ceased to exist tomorrow, the country would become ungovernable. It's too big to fail. And therefore, that's why I'm saying, comrades, the ANC owes it to the nation, to the country, to sort itself out. Not so that police should become provincial chair, but so that the ANC plays a role that is expected of it by the people. This thing to which the ANC has always been committed from its foundation, to serve the people of South Africa.
Is the ANC too big to fail, and would South Africa be left ungovernable if the ANC were to collapse? These, of course, are some of the questions we're unpacking tonight. I'm joined by political analysts, Professor Lesiba, Tefo, and Sandile Swana. Gentlemen, good evening, and thank you very much for your time. Of course, Dr. Swana, it's not the first time that the former president has said this. He said it, I think, in October last year at a business forum, and he's reiterating this. Clearly, he's done some analysis on this particular matter. But is the analysis of the former ANC president unnecessarily alarmist?
Thank you, Babu Mjoli. The issue here is whether, I mean, the first question would be the source of his wisdom, how he got this revelation. Because in the 2021 local government elections, the voters of South Africa placed less than 50% confidence in the African National Congress across the nation. And the metros in the economic capital of South Africa were voted out of the hands of the ANC into the coalition government. So the voters do not share. If you look at the consistent pattern since the Polokwane conference, there's been a clear downward vote of no confidence, steady vote of no confidence in the African National Congress, and that pattern has not stopped. Secondly, Thabo Mbeki himself has said that the investors, the local businesses, are holding too much cash in their books, and they are not investing in South Africa. Even when they went before the elections and said they want to invest under a trillion rand under Ramaphosa, when Thabo Mbeki did the numbers, they saw that actually that was just a token investment, because actually if they did those investments, unemployment would actually increase. It's not enough. It's just a symbolic investment. So when we look at then all the other issues, such as the insurrection in July and all sorts of chaos and reports that have come out in the past 3 months, they are a clear sign that the source of poor governance in South Africa, the source of instability and economic collapse, is the ANC itself and a number of key stakeholders, including business and the voters, as well as the other parties, because after the local government elections, a lot of the political parties said they will not form an alliance with the ANC because the ANC itself is the source of the problem. So I think Thabo Mbeki's version, we must accept it as a pep talk to the activists of the ANC to give them a little courage in a sinking ship otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, Prof. Tefo, let's just get your views, and I'll come back to this in a moment. Does society care that the ANC is seemingly dying a slow, shameful death, and there seems to be no one currently who is able to cure the situation?
I'd just love to continue listening to Sandile, because he's taking words out of my mouth, and I have no qualms with that. We share platforms together. Look, it is extremely unfortunate that this statement came from Thabo Mbeki, erstwhile leader of the country, a very competent CEO. But maybe it's time to accept that the once glorious movement has run its course. There isn't much that he can do, regardless of his stature and his standing. The ANC is so fractured that no man under the sun can save it. And I said it then, and I'm willing to repeat myself. The ANC cannot save itself from itself. 2 points. Madam Deputy Secretary,
Duarte.
Madam Duarte said exactly what Mbeki said in today. And these are unfortunate statements for me, because they send the wrong message out there that in the absence of the ANC, there can be no country. And I remember a lady in KwaZulu-Natal, I think Sandy, right, the former executive mayor, she also said once upon a time that there is no South Africa without the ANC. By so saying, you are telling the people that they shouldn't prepare and countenance a possibility of a loss of power. And should that day arise, and it certainly will, we are likely to reap the whirlwinds, and they must take responsibility. Because whether you like it or not, you must also tell as a responsible leader, that one day we must lose power, and we must be ready to salute whoever is in charge. By saying what they are saying right now, they are not helping the cause. For their demise is well and nigh. That is inevitable. Lastly, the sun has never collapsed on us when the Western Cape was won by the DA. And I dare say the ANC did its damnedest to make it ungovernable. But the people of the Western Cape were more politically literate than in many other areas. I'm not educationally literate. I'm saying politically illiterate. Yeah. They tried what they could to make it ungovernable, but the people had the confidence in the leadership, and to date, they've given up on that. So let's prepare ourselves. Let's accept that once upon a time, people will say there was a government under the ANC.
Yeah. Dr. Swana, I've been reflecting on that pep talk, and you've got to ask yourself, why is he giving this pep talk? I mean, others are reflecting on it, saying, well, maybe nationally and provincially, the ANC is governing in some key areas. If they fail, because seemingly they want to prioritize their internal squabbles, what is the likelihood of a smooth transition to a new government? I suppose Prof. Tefo has just weighed in on that. If you take the Western Cape as an example, is that likely going to be as well, maybe not as smooth, but at least as possible as it is in the Western Cape in the rest of South Africa?
Yes, it's going to be. I don't think it will be easy. I think there's going to be a lot of intimidation, because basically the statement that Thabo Mbeki has made is not in essence dissimilar to the one Zuma made, that the ANC will rule until Jesus comes back. If you say South Africa cannot survive without the ANC, you are then saying we will live under the ANC government eternally, meaning that no, the competitive multi-party democracy is not part of the ANC philosophy, that this election you can win, lose the next one, and so on and so forth. So there is likely to be violence. What we have not discussed even in this show, when we're mentioning some of the difficulties, is that if the political murder record is pulled out, the ANC will be leading in the political murder record. So there is a big problem that we have to fear as to what they are going to do when they lose power. As an example, in 2021, sorry, not 2021, 2024, they are likely to lose Gauteng, at least as a province, to the coalition. What are they going to do about that? Is Makura and company going to go and hand over the keys of everything smoothly without a struggle? I doubt it if people like Mbeki are fueling an idea that they must rule forever.
Are leaders within the ANC interested in delivering to the people? Because they, as you're saying, this pep talk, he seems to be appealing to them to say, guys, let's stop this thing of internal squabbles. Let's stop this thing of a race to leadership. Let's rather prioritize the renewal and the unity of this organization so that we can prioritize delivering to the people. Are those leaders, I mean, at all at this point still interested in that, or is it really just about the leadership race for them?
Well, the point of it is exactly what Prof. Tefo has already put on the table. The so-called fractions of the African National Congress are about how the spoils are going to be divided, who's going to get which tender, and so on and so forth. Service delivery is basically unknown in the ANC. When we have spoken about the ANC, poor performance, they don't have good performance. All reports show that there's no performance. Secondly, the competences to deliver performance are not there. Thirdly, there is corruption in the ANC. All of those things mean performance, service delivery is impossible. It is impossible. So that is why political parties in South Africa do not want to partner with the ANC, because once you partner with them, service delivery is going to come to a standstill. It will not happen. You'll be busy fighting about corruption and theft, and that is all that is going to happen.
Yeah. Prof. Tefo, let's weigh in on that. If you look at the political killing record, there are some bloodthirsty, gun-carrying individuals out there who saying they will shoot for whatever reason to earn those leadership positions in this political race. Should we be wary of that, and considering the statements that are being made that, well, if the ANC fails, the whole country will collapse, it will be ungovernable?
Even before I get to that, I think there is a point I had wanted to make earlier, because I'm more worried by these statements. They are not preparing society for accepting the outcome of an alternative government. What is being said is exactly what was said by Mugabe and his soldiers when they said, we shall never salute someone who has never been to the bush. When Changarai was inviting them to say, let's look for an alternative, they were prepared even to kill him. Some of the people who wanted to do that ran away from their country. The Menesara are now in Sandile. As far as half of the country is now in South Africa. People who did not listen when advised that you are messing up your country and you will be left with nothing but the ruins of the former prosperous Rhodesia under Ian Smith. Come back to your question now, right? It's only in Africa where people are prepared to kill for public office. The business of the public. Public office must be the business of the public, and the public must have interest in public service in order to serve the public, not the self. But in Africa, political office is about the self. And we must pause and ask ourselves as Africans, why aren't other people killing for public office? Because it is about the self. It's about servant leadership, not about self-enrichment. And the killings in the ANC, I don't think there is anything that can stop them at this juncture.
Yeah.
Even the revered Thabo Mbeki cannot do that. Even he himself cannot save the ANC. And I really admire him, his initiative, and the spirit in which he's expressing himself. I understand where he comes from, but unfortunately it's too late in the hour. The rot has gone far too deep. Yeah. Everybody for himself. The party comes last, let alone the country.
Talking about the rot going too deep and talking about public service, does it matter at all that, for example, civil service in the country, seemingly civil service positions, are political appointments? And how will the failure of the political organization impact on service delivery?
If I may come in on that one in particular, I'm more interested in it because I spoke a lot about doing away with the tender system. Apartheid ideology was bad, but the systems under apartheid worked well. If you care to go to Mangaung or to the former Buputatswana, the people will tell you under Mangope, systems worked well and were better governed than is the case right now. Now, if you look at cadre deployment, and the tender system is what's messed up. And I hear people thinking we can transform the public service. You cannot. I submit, you can't transform the public service of South Africa precisely because of cadre deployment. People are not, meritocracy is not at the heart of it. Even my president, Ramaphosa, could not appoint people on merit because the so-called tripartite alliance framework prescribed to him who and who not to appoint. Sorry, it cannot be done. Certainly, new players must come into the space, perhaps including the ANC itself in a transformed fashion.
Yeah. Swana, does it matter that civil service positions are political appointments, and how will a failure of the organization impact on the state of service delivery?
Let us be clear that there are three things that we must not confuse, because South Africans confuse these things. One is a political party. A political party is elected to form a government. So a political party and a government are not the same. And then secondly, the government that is elected runs the state. Now, for instance, right now, there are interesting questions we have to consider, even in this scenario that Thabo Mbeki is presenting. Let's say for maybe 6 months, there is no Minister of Finance and no Deputy Minister of Finance, just for the sake of argument. Do you think that DG of Finance, Treasury, would not know what to do? Or the Governor of the Reserve Bank would not know what to do? No, the state would still function without them. So let us be clear that this collapse that Thabo Mbeki is talking about, the ANC would have to work hard and take deliberate effort to bring about that collapse. But the issue that we are raising about the selection of civil servants goes back to this issue that Prof. Tefo is raising. Meritocracy. The only thing that is relevant and that must be reintroduced, and it cannot be introduced with the ANC in place, is that every civil servant, anybody who's going to touch public office, must be appointed professionally, independently of politics, and actually do the work on merit.
Yeah. How do you then, Swana, trust an organization that has for so long prioritized internal squabbles and leadership races to choose candidates who will take the task of service delivery seriously?
Yes, I said in the 2017 conference that actually there is no urgency of going to any conference, because the problem is not the election of leaders. It is the process by which leaders are selected that needs to be corrected first, even at branch level. There are people who could not be a class rep in sub-A who become a branch chairperson. There are people who could not be even an SRC president who become premiers, and so on and so forth, people with no merit whatsoever, because the process of selecting leaders at branch level, regional level, and right up to national level, including the process, by the way, regrettably, that produced Cyril Ramaphosa. That process is not a credible leadership selection process at all. So they need to get rid of those processes, and they need to be given time out of office to go and do the cleanup, not once they are still in office.
Yeah. And the Prof, weigh in on that. I suppose they would want us now to believe that this is the organization that can truly be trusted in appointing now capable candidates to be in those positions to take service delivery seriously.
I wish they could. I really wish they could. But unfortunately, it's too late in the hour. the road has run so deep. And having said that, I think I want to add to what Sandile is saying. We have got a bloated structure. And Ramaphosa said to me and you, the government's job is to create an enabling environment for business to thrive and thereby create jobs. But if you look at the structure we had, we have got about 3 or 4 layers or 3 tiers of government. You have let me just one example. You have got a Minister of Finance, an MEC of Finance, an MMC of Finance. Surely it cannot be right. How many people employed to do one job that in Botswana, next door to us, only one person is doing that? I'm saying it's about time we revise the architecture, the political architecture of South Africa, because there's too much duplication. What is the job, the political job of a councillor, of whether metro or local council? What is the political job? South Africa is very rich financially and economically. It's just mismanaged and undermanaged. And the bloated system was intended to reward the cadres. And I'm saying, let's revisit whether we need the structure. If indeed we need a finance minister, an MEC for finance, an MMC for finance, surely many would say that that is not affordable. Cut down on the provinces, revisit and realign the structure as we have, and you release a lot of money to do what is necessary for the benefit of the people of South Africa.
Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. That's Professor Lesiba, Tefo, as well as Sandile, Swana, weighing in tonight on that unity and renewal mission that the President went on this past weekend in the Free State. When we